Om Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Loka Shankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavat Vyapta Dehaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Nama Pranavarthaye Shuddha Jnanaikamurtaye Nirmalaya Prashantaye Dakshinamurtaye Namaha Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We were right at the last few verses of this text, where he started to address this question of saying the Jivatma, both the Vyavaharika and the Pratibhasika, are Jada. Where do they get the life from? Very interesting discussion. In many of the Upanishads, you will see it says that Ishvara created the Jagat. In Brahman, in the form of Ishvara, creates the Jagat and entered into it, thus lending sentience to some of them. There is also another Upanishad called Garbhopanishad, which actually traces the growth of the fetus. Month after month, what happens to the fetus? Because one of the questions that many people in the field have been researching on, trying to figure out, when does the fetus actually become independent living entity? They're still struggling, not sure. Upanishad also just mentioned that I think the 7th month, the fetus takes life of its own. Although it is still dependent upon the mother. When and how does the Jivatma get sentiency? So to explain that, he has taken an example. Most of these are explained through an example. Even explained, like we saw yesterday, Mithyatvam, through two different types of examples. Pratibhasika Mithyatvam and Vyavaharika Mithyatvam. For us, as human beings, an example serves a wonderful purpose of saying, yes, it is possible. We also saw through another example how it is possible for a upadhana karanam, a material cause, to create something completely out of itself with no external material at all. Without any change in itself. Whereas there are other examples which show that a cause, a karanam, undergoes change and therefore loses its properties, acquires new properties to become something else, transforms into something else. And the classic example on that is milk turning into curd. Whereas examples such as gold being converted into gold ornaments, gold never loses its own properties. Its shine, its malleability, its atomic properties, nothing changes. So through examples, we can understand a lot of things, although examples are never complete. They cannot be complete. If you say that boy has the strength of a lion, that boy is neither got 4 feet, nor is he go and pounce on other living things and eat them. Only one specific characteristic you are exemplifying. Other characteristics are different. So you're saying that like among animals, lion has extraordinary strength. Among humans, among people in his own category, this boy has extraordinary strength. That's all you say. So drishtanta and the drashtanta. Drishtanta, which is an example, and drashtanta, that which is being exemplified. Drishta anta. Drishtam is that which is seen. Here anta means sadrisham, like. So drishtanta is saying he has strength like a lion. He takes an example to really compare with what we've been trying to study all this time about pratibhasikam, vyavaharikam, and paramarthikam. So these two verses, 43 and 44, let's read them. Yeah. Madhurya dravya shaityani.
Madhurya dravya shaitani.
Shaityani.
Shaityani.
Neera dharmastarangake.
Neera dharmastarangake.
Anugamyatha tannishte.
Anugamyatha tannishte.
Penepyanugata yatha.
Penepyanugata tadha.
Sakshithaha sachidanandaha.
Sakshithaha sachidanandaha.
Sambandhat vyavaharike.
Sambandhat vyavaharike.
Tadvarenanugachanti.
Tadvarenanugachanti.
Tathaiva pratibhasike.
Tathaiva pratibhasike.
What you say? Yatha madhurya dravya shaityani neeradharmaha tarangake anugamya atha tannishte phene api anugata. Tatha sakshistaha sachidanandaha sambandhat vyavaharike tadvarena anugachanti eva pratibhasike api anugachanti. Anvaya, it becomes easy to understand. Yatha and tatha. That is the example. Yatha, like, in the same way, tatha. They go together. So in the first 43rd verse, he says, Yatha madhurya dravya shaityani niradharmas tarangake anugamvyatha tannishte api anugata. The next verse is Tatha eva, the same way, Sakshisthaha Sachidanandaha Sambandhat Vyavaharike Tadvarena Anugachanti Eva Pratibhasike. What are the characteristics of water? We've seen this example before. We have, let us say, in this case, he deliberately takes an example of a placid lake, not an ocean. Normally, we've been using the example of saying ocean and wave. Here he is taking an example of a placid lake. We'll see why we say that. And there are small wavelets. In the lake, you don't have huge waves. Tarangaka. Taranga is wave. Wavelets. And the waves, when they crash into each other, they produce froth. The lake produces the wavelets. Wavelets produce froth or foam. Pena. Many years ago, somebody launched a washing soap called Pena. I don't know if you've seen that. I was wondering, why is he calling it Pena? Then later I figured out the meaning is foam. Pena. Where does the wave come from? What is the origin of the wave? Wave is non-separate from the lake. Now, why is it non-separate from the lake? The day wavelet here understands I am nothing but water. I've been looking up to the lake as seeing Brahmanda Market. I am a Alpa. Lake is a huge lake. The day the wavelet wakes up to the fact that he is essentially water, and that which he's been scared of, which he's been in awe of, the lake, which is enormous compared to the wavelet, is also water. Then the fear, the awe, everything goes. Ishvara is not something to be feared. Fortunately, many times we are told, Bhagavan kita bhaya bhakti oda iru. Bhakti oda I can understand. Bhaya bhakti, why bhaya bhakti? Similarly, I've seen on church, they sometimes put this board outside. Sometimes they are scary boards. They try to scare you, saying, be afraid of Bhagavan, be afraid of God. God is not something to be either believed in or to be afraid of. Because the wavelet understands I am the same as that lake, which looks enormous compared to me. Not only does it look enormous, I am born of that lake. I am a product of that lake. The lake is permanent, relatively speaking. I am born and I die. I am born and I die. Therefore, I can pray to that lake, please make me live a little longer. Please make me a little bigger. The other wave is bigger than I. All that goes away. When the wavelet understands its nature is water, which is the same as the nature of the large lake of which it was born. Not only that, it understands I am nothing but water. The lake is nothing but water. And everything that the lake has as a property, fundamental property, I also have. Its size I don't have. Its size is what defines it as a lake. My size and my form is what defines me as a wavelet. But in essence, in the fundamentals, I have the same characteristics, same attributes as the lake. Why? Because I am water, lake is also water. So in this example, he takes 3 specific characteristics of water. Madhuryam, Dravyam, and Chaitya. Madhuryam is sweetness, Madhura Bhavam. Water is naturally sweet. Ocean water is salty not because of water, but there's so much of salt in the water. Water per se is sweet. You take any water, you add something to it, give it another characteristic. You make juice of bitter gourd. Limited is water, but you added some other elements into it from the bitter gourd. It becomes bitter. Water by itself is not bitter. Water by itself is madhuryam, Dṛg-dṛśya-viveka. One characteristic, one attribute of water. The second he takes up he calls it the dravyam. Dravyam is fluidity. Naturally, at normal temperatures, water is fluid. It flows. Liquidity. It can be in the form of solid also. You can freeze it. Ice. Or it can be in the form of vapor. As solid, it won't flow. As vapor, it will do something else. It won't flow. But the nature, the inherent attribute of water is fluidity. The lake has this characteristic, so do I. The third he takes up is Shaityam. Shitala Bhavam. Shaityam. Coldness. Water is naturally cool. Coolness is brought with it. You can heat up water. It will become hot water. But in the natural state, it is cold to the touch. That is why in summer, in a place like Delhi, you're desperately seeking water. So much so that there have been times, I remember as a child in Delhi, when we used to sleep outside. No air conditioning and all those days. Everybody will bring out their charpai typical Indian cot. Nalikal charpai and woven with. It was so hot, even at night. They would sprinkle water on the bedsheet. Everybody would do that. Feel a little cooler. And if there's a little bit of a breeze, that water will evaporate and of course will also cause further cooling. The inherent characteristic of water is coolness. Therefore, the lake is cool. Therefore, when in summer you're going on a trek, feeling, oh my God, it's so hot, and you find a little body of water, you feel like jumping into the water. Cool yourself down. So the wavelet realizes that the same properties of the lake I also have. I inherit those properties. So how am I different from the lake? Yes, in terms of size, I'm smaller, the lake is bigger. Essentially, I'm the same. So this madhuryam, dravyam and shaityam, the three together, you get samasa, madhurya, dravya, shaityani, plural. Madhurya, dravya, shaityani, nira dharmaha, a dharma of water, characteristics of water. This word dharma has many meanings. One of the meanings is this. Our previous past Prime Minister, Dr. Manmohan Singh, once when he was accosted of the 2G scam, saying you and your partners are looting this country, he made a statement. It is because of coalition dharma. Mark his words. Coalition dharma. That is the nature of coalition, he says. So I have to let them do what they want. This is done by the partners. At that time, another party was DMK, I think, was their partner in the government. I have to allow them to do what they want because of coalition dharma. Misuse of the word dharma. But dharma means what is your inherent characteristics? One of the meanings of dharma. Nira dharma. Madhuryam, dravyam, shaityam. Nira dharma. Taranga ke anugamya. Taranga is wavelet. Taranga ke anugamya. They are passed on to the wavelet. Because wavelet is water. Same as the lake. So it has to have the same characteristics. Taranga ke anugamya. Therefore, it inheres the entire wavelet also. Then what happens? From the wavelet is produced phena. Now, wavelet has inherited, if you want, the properties of madhurya, dravya, shaityani. It passes it on to its own product. So, this characteristics having inhered in the wavelet, anugamya, atha, thereafter, tannishte phene api anugata. that phena that was created by itself, which is for which this is the adhisthana. The foam, the froth. What is the adhisthana for the froth? The taranga. So from its own adhisthana, which is the lake, it inherited the properties, and it being the adhisthana for the phena, the same properties are available in the phena also. So in this 43rd verse, he says, the properties of the adhisthana are available in what is produced from the adhisthana, whether it is mithya or otherwise. In fact, there is no otherwise, there is only mithya possible. We finishes the word yatha. Like this happens, tatha, in the same way, tatha eva, tathaiva, sakshishya sachidanandaha, sakshishyaha sachidanandaha. That sakshi which you referred to earlier has the characteristics, be very careful here, of Sat Chit and Ananda. Sachidananda is again plural. The properties of Sakshi, Sat Chit and Ananda. Let's come back, revisit this word a little bit in a minute. Vyavaharike sambandhat. Because of the tadaptyam. We've seen that earlier. With the vyavaharika jagat, vyavaharika jiva. Therefore, it lends is these characteristics of Satchidananda to the vyavaharika jiva. Because the vyavaharika jiva is product of Sakshi in the form of Ishvara. And from this, using this Vyavaharika Jiva as the Adhisthana, you get the Prasibhatika Jiva and Jagat. You've seen this. The same characteristics are available or inheres also in the Prathivashika Jiva. Otherwise, how do you say that your Prathivashika Jiva, which is Swapna Kalpita Jiva, how do you say it's existing? How do you say it's alive? Only because it is transferred, not transferred. There's inhered in the properties in here that also. What is Chit? Consciousness, Chaitanya. That same consciousness is available here also. And we have seen earlier that when the Jagat is there, in which if you separate the Jiva and the Jagat in either in the Pratibhashika or in the Vyavaharika state, the Jiva look alive. Rest of the Jagat look insentient. That we've seen why that happens. This sentiency is from the fact that the Adhisthana is Sakshi for the Vyavaharika Jiva, which itself becomes the Adhisthana for the Prativashika Jiva. So just as Yatha Tatha, The wavelet has the same characteristics of water that the lake has. And the wavelet in turn has the same characteristic as the froth. What are the characteristics he said of the wavelet and the lake and this thing? Madhuryam, Dravyam and Shitala Bhavam. In the same thing, remember an example, the Drishtanta, Drashtanta, the characteristics of Sakshi are only as though characteristics. There is no character, there is no need for characteristics. Brahman is Ekameva Advitiyam. There is no need to define Brahman as being blue or large or any other adjective. In that sense, Satyam and Jnanam and Anantam are not definitive characteristics. Satyam is Brahman. Jnanam is Brahman. Anantam is Brahman. There is no characteristic. But for purposes of understanding, we have to use an example from the samsara, from Jagat. Therefore, this example. How the same characteristics of water are available in all three, the froth, wavelet and the lake. Why I said lake was because Madhuryam is there. Earlier we used to give the example of ocean and wave. Ocean water is not Madhuryam, not Madhuram. There's Lavana there. As for the example that of a placid lake, large lake perhaps. This is how the properties are seen. Now what happens in this beautiful thing you can see? Your Pratibhasika Jiva is there, that also becomes Laya. Where does it become Laya? Into its Adhisthana, which is the Vyavaharika Jiva. The Vyavaharika Jiva also can become Laya, Samhara, into its Adhisthana when Jnanam arises. Its Adhisthana is Sakshi, the only Dṛk. So he takes that also up in the next verse and he says, Laye phenasya tad dharmaha. You want to check? Put that up. 45 and 46, please. Put up.
Laye phenasya tad dharmaha.
Dravyadhyashyuttarangake. Tasyapi vilaye nire. Tantyete yatha pura. Pratibhasika jivasya. Layeshu vyavaharike. Tallaye satchidanandaha. Paryavasyanti sakshini. Phenasya laye taddharmaha dravyadhyaha tarangaki suku. The last to appear and the first to disappear is what? Phena. In this example, where does the foam disappear? Into its adhisthana, which is the taranga. When that happens, phenasya laye, when phena becomes laya, in its own dharma, its own dharma here is its own adhisthana. Dravyadhyaha tarangake syuhu. These characteristics were in the Taranga, its own adhisthana, from which it received it, or it inherited, from the easiest word. Same thing with when the Phena disappears into the Laya, into the Taranga, characters also disappear into the Taranga. Drsya api, it's what? It's dharma. Nire vilaye yete yatha pura tatha tishtanti. Like I said before, this Taranga, Taranga, when that becomes Laya in its own adhisthana, which is the lake, properties are still there in the lake. Properties don't go anywhere. The characteristics remain the same. In the same way, tasya api nire vilaye, when the Taranga becomes samhara in the water of the lake, yete means these characteristics, like before, they remain in the water. So, if you look at this Jagat, all the jivas in this Jagat, the Vyavaharika Jagat as well as the Pratibhashika Jagat, there are Vyavaharika Jiva and Pratibhashika Jiva who have a borrowed existence, a borrowed consciousness from, and a borrowed relative Anantam from the Adhisthana, which is Sakshi Brahman. Then they use the same to give the same characteristics to the Pratibhashika Jiva. If you took the reverse order, when the Pratibhashika Jiva disappears into the Vyavaharika Jiva, when the Sapna finishes, same characters continue to remain in the Vyavaharika Jiva. Now, in the case of Pratibhashika disappearing into the Vyavaharika, it is simple prabodha, waking up into the Vyavaharika state. Here also is the same thing, prabodha into the Paramarthika state. When the delusions are gone, when there is Laya in Brahman, same characteristics of Brahman remain. So this had the characteristics in the Swapna as long as Swapna lasted. Swapna finished, they all went back to the Vyavaharika Jiva. Vyavaharika Jiva will also have the same thing. As long as Ajnanam lasts, they are inherent in the Vyavaharika Jiva. So it looks like it's conscious being, Chaitanyam. It also has the relative Ananta or Ananda. Actually, there's no word you can use, a relative Ananta. Ananta means endless. So Ananda is a better option. The relative Ananda, which all jivas draw in their existence during the tenure of their existence. When that tenure finishes with the arising of jnanam, meaning disappearance of ajnanam, there is only one. Satyam jnanam anantam brahma. There's only one because the jiva, Vyavaharika Jiva, has recognized and understood there is only one. And that one has to be I. Therefore, there is no more. Therefore, he becomes a Brahmavit. Once he's a Brahmavit, because he realized there is nothing else. That's all there is. Ekameva advitya Brahman. The whole thing is so logical. So he says you apply the same thing into this Jagat that has been created. Vyavaharika Jagat and the Vyavaharika Jiva. There is Paramarthika, only Paramarthika. There is no Jiva Jagat there. There is no subject object. From there, as though there is subject object differentiation, and you have Jiva and Jagat, Bhokta and Bhogya, which in turn creates one more set of Jagat and one more set of Jiva, another set of subject object, another set of time, another set of space, with the same characteristics that have come down from Ekameva Advitya Sachidananda Brahman. When that Swapna finishes, and therefore the end of that Pratibhasika Jiva, when it goes Laya into its Adhisthana, which is the Vyavaharika Jiva, the same characteristics remain. Get up in the morning, you're still the same person with the same level of knowledge, same other characteristics. And that also when it becomes, when not never becomes, when it recognizes itself to be that Sachidananda Brahman, that's all there is. So he says, Pratibhasika Jivasya Laye Syuhu Vyavaharike. Tallaye Sachidanandaha Paryavasyanti Sakshini. You do an Anvaya. Pratibhasika Jivasya Laye. When the Pratibhasika Jiva becomes, not become, he is the Vyavaharika Jiva, Swapna finishes. Sati Sachidanandaha Vyavaharike Syuhu. Syuhu is Vidiling Bahochanam. It is existence. Pratibhasika Jivasya Laye Sati Sachidanandaha Vyavaharike Syuhu. The same Satchit Ananda which inhered the Pratibhasika Jiva is now in the Vyavaharika Jiva. Because you've woken up. That Vyavaharika Jiva also, Tallaye, Tatlaye, the Vyavaharika Jiva when it becomes Laya, Laye, Saptami, Sachidanandaha Sakshini Paryavasyanti. Avasanti, Paryavasanti, Paryavasanti. In what? Sakshini. Into the Sakshi. So with the end of the Pratibhasika Jiva into the Vyavaharika Jiva, not even into the as Vyavaharika Jiva, because there is only one. Vyavaharika Jiva, Sat, Chit and Ananda, which were the characteristics of the Pratibhasika Jiva, are now available in the Vyavaharika Jiva. Because that is the Adhisthana. When that also recognizes itself to be non-separate from the Sakshi, these characters remains only in the Sakshi. And remember, these characters are as though characteristics. There is no characteristics. We had names and forms. We had from those Vyavaharika Jiva created another word. that world resolved into the Vyavaharika. That Vyavaharika in turn resolved into the Paramarthika, leaving behind nothing but what a beautiful conclusion to a very interesting analysis. From verse 32 we've seen, up to verse 32, 31, we had seen that it is all Dṛg-dṛśya, Dṛg-dṛśya. It is onwards, he's taken on another way of analyzing this. Pratibhasika, Vyavaharika and Paramarthika. With that, this text comes to a very good conclusion. As with all texts, when we study and we do some contemplative thinking, there is likely to be some amount of doubts because we have a lot of our own thinking. We've studied a lot of other things. Those need to be addressed right away. So we will, before we start another text, we will allow at least one session where we can address any questions, doubts, etc., and discuss them openly. So if you have, any of you has any doubts, any questions, any observations, you can either send them in the group or send it to Surya, who will compile them, and we will address it in the next class. If there are no questions and no observations, no doubt, that either means our Shravanam has been fantastic, or it means there will be no Mananam. One of the two. We will see the next class. If it is there, fine. And then we will take a short breakup of perhaps 1 week and we'll start a new text, which we will announce shortly. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om
Shanti. Harihi Om.
Harihi Om.